Thank you very much for joining us. And I think we can all agree we had a very good time watching all those presentations today. So today I think we're going to talk about whether we are witnessing the dawn of a golden age for minerals in Latin America. And here we meet today to do that. We've got His Excellency, the Minister of Mines and Energy for Peru, Jorge Montero Conejo. Welcome. We've also got Maximo Pacheco, the Chairman of Codelco. Thank you for coming. We've got Tristan Pascal, the Chief Executive Officer of First Quantum Minerals. Thank you for coming as well. And then we've got Adam London, the Chairman of London Mining Corporation. Thank you. And then Pierre Chanard, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Manara. And then we got Rogero Nujera, who is the Executive Vice President of Iron Ore Solutions for Vale. Thank you so much for coming. So gents, it's a very easy question to start with, which coincidentally happens to be the title of our panel. So are we witnessing a golden age for minerals in Latin America? And more importantly, what does that mean for your business? So I think I'm just going to go down and start with you.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about this. I prefer, in this occasion, talk in the language of my heart, Spanish, right?
Correct.
Sí, tenemos una enorme oportunidad en la transformación de la matriz energética mundial. Menos combustibles fósiles y más energía renovable, y para eso necesitamos mucho más minerales críticos, minerales estratégicos. Ahora, ¿qué significa eso en concreto para América Latina? Eso significa, en primer lugar, aprender y lograr articular las minas con el territorio. América Latina tiene una larga experiencia minera, pero es una experiencia de enclave. Llego, produzco y me retiro. Lo que América Latina necesita, porque tiene una sociedad, un mundo social muy intenso y diverso, lo que necesita es que las minas participen, se integren al territorio y participen en el desarrollo del territorio. Ese es el primer punto. El segundo punto, de la mayor importancia, es simplificar los marcos normativos. Muchas leyes, muchos requerimientos, requisitos, reglamentos. No. Necesitamos simplificar marcos normativos. Y el tercer punto, de la mayor importancia, es abaratar, hacer menos costoso los suministros, sobre todo el suministro de energía. Y la migración hacia las renovables ayuda mucho. Perú acaba de sacar una ley por la cual ponemos todas las energías renovables, incluyendo la solar. Le reconocimos potencia firme. La ponemos a la solar, la eólica, la geotérmica, la hidroeléctrica en igualdad de condiciones para competir bajo las mismas reglas del mercado con las generadoras de combustibles fósiles. Eso ayuda mucho. Serían los 3 puntos.
Thank you, His Excellency. I think I picked 3 important things. For the golden age to be materialized in the region, cooperation should be key among Latin America. You talk about there should be the right legal framework for you to harness those opportunities. And more importantly, you should work on lowering costs, and you single out renewable energy, particularly solar, as one of them. Thank you so much. And so I'm going to pass it on to you. So similarly, golden age, what does that mean for your business?
Yeah, so look, thank you for the question. Manara is a mining investment company, so for me this question's very easy. Latin America is a place of wonderful opportunity for metals and mining investments, and has been for some decades. Great assets, more great assets to be found, many great companies based there or very active there, many of which represented even on this panel. So the one word that comes to mind is opportunity.
opportunity it is. Adam?
Thank you. Yes, it's great to be here. I agree with Pierre, and I think when you think golden era, you really need the stars to align. And for us, I think about developing a project. If you want to be in a golden era, you're going to need a good commodity price backdrop. You're going to need your social license, and you're going to need a host nation that wants to see your project move forward, because everything's done in a partnership. And I think those are three key elements enabled to have a golden era. And
Definitely. Thank you so much, Adam. Rogerio?
No, yes. Thank you very much. To me, the answer is yes. Also, I think it's important to say that Latin America is a region of high tradition in mining. If you think about iron ore, we're talking about 20% of the global production and resources. Copper, about 40%, lithium about 35%, niobium, 90%. So it is a region which has a lot of experiences. Yes, there's a new wave coming, but that's not going to be the first one. By the early 2000s, we have the growth of China, and we had to face it.
Yeah.
Now it's a different scenario with this whole trend of decarbonization. There's going to be an enormous challenge for the region to leverage its expertise, its experience, actually help the world to close the supply-demand gap. So I believe that Latin America will play a very important role in maintaining the supply of these critical commodities to the world. That's, to me, the challenge.
Absolutely, and I think you're right on there that they play a key role in that. Maximus?
Well, Codelco is a state-owned enterprise. Chile is the #1 copper producer in the world. We've been in business as Codelco for 53 years, but our largest mines, Chuquicamata and Teniente, are over 100 years old. So we've been in business for a long time. And it's important to mention that mining is a long-term business. That is probably one of the main characteristics. Nothing happens in mining from one day to the other. It requires a lot of planning and a lot of work before you see the copper. In addition to this, Codelco, obviously today, is joining efforts with SQM in order to associate and become a player in the lithium business. Chile has the largest copper reserves in the world and the largest lithium reserves in the world. So we need to do that in association with partners, and that's why we've been working with SQM, who is the largest lithium company in the world.
Correct. Thank you so much. I think partnership will certainly help LATAM harness this golden age. Tristan?
Yeah, very hard to add to what are some great answers there, but thank you very much for the opportunity. I think Latin America absolutely has that opportunity, but there's a lot of challenges. I mean, some of them that were not mentioned, the cost of capital, inflation that the world faces. I think, in particular, working with communities, the Honourable Minister mentioned some of that, the development that needs to go into communities. Our first-hand experience in Panama is very much around that at First Quantum Minerals, and I think recalibrating, resetting the relationship between mining and communities is what we're learning and pushing forward fundamentally. Beyond that, it's a great opportunity for Latin America, I think, to recast its relationship with existing powers in the world, but also new, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Middle East entrants that are coming into this field provide the opportunity to recast world relationships as well.
Yeah, so recalibrate and reset, and certainly something that would help drive this golden age. So His Excellency, I'm going to come back to you. And so, I mean, all around, if you listen to the conversation yesterday, this morning, most of the ministers, most of the governments have been talking about being able to attract investment into their countries, whether upstream, downstream, or midstream. And I think I wanted to sort of hear how Peru has been able to sort of overcome the challenge and being able to attract investment into the country. Are there any lessons you can share with some of the countries here?
Okay, thank you. A ver, en el Perú lo primero que tenemos que hacer, si pensamos en el Perú, hay que entender que es un país con una extrema biodiversidad y con muchas culturas relativamente diferentes, con tradiciones distintas. Es un país que tiene esa peculiaridad. Son condiciones de origen. Y si queremos hacer negocios en Perú, tenemos que entender eso. Si no, no estamos entendiendo cómo se hacen negocios en Perú. El gran punto es el uso del agua superficial. Surface water. Ese es el punto principal. Hay una disputa permanente entre el uso del agua superficial y subterránea para las distintas actividades. Entonces, la sugerencia para ustedes, señores de la minería, de las empresas mineras, es que usen las tecnologías de desalinización de agua de mar. Nosotros tenemos la experiencia de un proyecto de Southern Peru Copper Corporation que tiene Tía María, es el nombre del proyecto, Tía María. No salía porque querían usar agua de superficie, pero cuando cambian y dicen vamos a desalinizar agua de mar, se acabó gran parte de la protesta social y está a punto de iniciar operaciones, construcción, a punto de iniciar construcción, porque cambió el mensaje. Ya no vamos a disputar agua de superficie, vamos a usar agua de mar, y cambió todo. Eso es importante. Esa tecnología nos viene bien a los peruanos, nos ayuda. 1, 2, tenemos que transformar nuestros minerales. Perú tiene tradición siderúrgica, pero la perdió. La perdió en los años 90 del siglo pasado, pero la tuvo muchos años. Tenemos que regresar a esa tradición de añadirle valor a nuestros minerales a través de la siderurgia y de la refinación de minerales. Ahí ganamos todos y ganamos valor en nuestra producción. Y por último, algo que es importante decirlo, el cierre de minas, mining closing, es muy importante en el Perú porque la sostenibilidad, ¿cuál es la sostenibilidad real de un proyecto minero? Lo que deja, lo que te deja después que terminó. Ese es el punto. Entonces, cerrar bien las minas como las cierran en Canadá, cerrarlas así en Perú es fundamental, como las cierran en Australia. Es fundamental, porque eso permite que la población diga, de acuerdo, está bien, es una minería responsable, podemos aceptar 2, 3, 10, 50 proyectos más. Ese es otro punto de la mayor importancia. Gracias.
Thank you so much, His Excellency. And so if you're a government here, I think His Excellency shared some 4 important points. Understand the cultural diversity of your country before you go out attracting investment for mining. Leverage technology, and I think you talk about desalination. You talked about transformation, value add, position the value add in order to attract investment. And finally, you talk about the sustainability of the project, where governments need to ensure that mining lives beyond generations, and it's important to have the communities have a say in that. Those were very powerful words. Thank you so much, His Excellency the Minister. So I'm going to go to Maximo for my next question. So rising cost, I mean, we talk to people in the region, and of course, for the golden age to really be able to live up to expectation, the industry needs to manage costs. And we know that increasingly you talk about a mine existing 100 years, grades are getting lower, costs is rising. Codelco has done some impressive work in that. So how is Codelco working to overcome some of these cost and grade challenges?
Well, we know that we are in a business which is based in natural resources. These are non-renewable resources. So because we've been for more than a century developing mines, we know that we need to continue to renew our mining resource. That means we need to extend the life of our company by developing new projects, new mines, investing money on this. Codelco's capital expenditure, CapEx per year, is over $5 billion per year. So we spend a lot of money because we know this is capital intensive. But we need also, in addition to, as Minister from Peru was mentioning, in addition to the environment and the community issues that we have, there is something we need to do in mining, which is innovation. Innovation meaning we need to bring new technologies, we need to bring business analytics, robotics, we need to bring artificial intelligence, we need to bring new technologies so that we develop new ways of mining, who are more friendly with the environment, more friendly with the community, but also which can help us to address the fact that we are facing a decline in the ore grades. So, for example, in our case, Codelco moves 2 million tons of earth per day. 2 million tons of earth per day is a lot of earth that you need to move.
Correct.
And every day we need to move more earth to get the same amount of copper because ore grades are going down. So this is what I think we need to move faster. Probably the world will see more underground mining in the future, and probably we will see new technologies like leaching to develop copper mining operations.
Yeah, technology certainly will play a key role. Still on cost, Tristan, so I wanted to come to you. So obviously, just like Maximo said, grades are going lower, and these makes projects very expensive, right? So how can industry de-risk some of these projects that you're working on? Because at this moment, cost of capital is quite expensive. So what are you doing to lower some of this cost?
Yeah, Kwasi, it's a real challenge, and I think the industry faces that. As grades decline, we have to build bigger and bigger projects, and the cost of capital is high, so the exposure is huge in the upfront outlay of capital. In First Quantum, we do a lot of that in-house, so we have the people and the capability in our own business to take out a lot of the areas where risk can knock onto capital. So that is in the design process. We make sure that we're designing, because we all know, as much as we sit here and say that we know what an ore body looks like, when you're standing on top of it before a start, you don't have much knowledge, and it will change. The first thing you have to acknowledge is that your estimate is wrong, and you need to be able to cope with that. So designing a plant, designing a mine to cope with change, to be flexible and adaptable is number one. But in order to do that, you need to have the right people, and the industry is currently characterized by a lack of ability to bring more and more ongoing good people into the industry that can change and innovate and drive that cost reduction. If that is something we all need to work on at First Quantum. It's something we're very focused on, bringing young people into the industry. And with those people, that you can then adapt and execute. And we do a lot of execution in-house, and that takes away from the sort of previous model of engineered, procured construction management, where it ends up being basically a commercial contract and a commercial risk. As an owner of a mine, you can never outlay that risk. And so we found that over time, doing most of the work in-house, not everything, we're not experts in everything, is a good way to eliminate a lot of that risk that then knocks onto your capital. And finally, that when you start up well and you start up quickly. Because what limits you ultimately is the time to turn revenue on. And so that operations readiness and being able to get up the curve and start the projects well and quickly is ultimately the key metric in what determines your ultimate cost of your project.
Absolutely, and time, like you said, is really of essence here. Madam, I'm going to come to you. So obviously one of the way companies can sort of lower this cost is form JVs, like come together, work together. And we've seen that quite common in LATAM, but then quite recently we can see that there can be some of these JVs could lead to challenges. Okay, so you recently announced one with BHP. Congratulations, first of all. So walk us through some of what's your relationship with BHP? Why BHP? But more importantly, what are the next steps for that JV?
Yeah, no, super excited about the JV we formed with BHP for the Vicuña district on a 50-50 basis. I think the relationship has just gone from strength to strength. You know, when BHP made their initial investment in Filo a couple of years back, it started the beginning of what's been a great relationship, and getting to know that organization and the talented people within it, and being able to collaborate and work with Lundin Mining's management team. And also wanting to create a JV, you have the opportunity to go and look at other JVs around the world and see what works and what doesn't work, and try and craft what we believe is going to be you know, the best JV out there. So we know we're just going to have to demonstrate that over time, and we look forward to doing it.
Absolutely, and we all look forward to it too. So Pierre, I'm going to come to you. You're the man with the check, and I can see quite a number of people with projects looking for money. So these projects are there, but then what they keep telling us is that there are very few people actually investing in these projects. So I wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges that prevent these projects out there from receiving the capital from investors like Manara?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And look, it's we have to face the realities of the industry that we're in. As Tristan hinted, it's in our case all about very large amounts of money, all spent up front, very capital intensive, with all the risk up front. And so investors are quite understandably prudent when it comes to investing. They need to see projects de-risked, and projects that we bring about are very pervasive and very complicated, frankly. They have a lot of moving parts. It's not an easy thing to do. And you know, if there's one or two challenges to the project specifically, that can obviously forestall investment. All that in circumstances where the competition for capital isn't regional. We're talking about Latin America on this panel, but it's worldwide. And then, look, bad news travels fast. So sometimes you get distractions that frankly are a bit unfair to the companies trying to raise capital, but they need to be very good at communications to try to get back on track and try to make people understand what the issue really is and what it isn't. That's just the tip of the iceberg, but there are many challenges, and those are a few of them.
Yeah. No, thank you, and I think our audience will certainly do appreciate that. So, Jerry, I'm going to come to you on the challenges. We know that permitting and licensing affects growth in the region, and obviously you're very experienced in managing some of these challenges. So, what are some of the lessons you can share if there are companies out there looking to overcome some of these permitting and license challenges?
Yes, indeed, permitting and licensing is one of the most important topics in developing a successful mining project in Latin America. But I think we need to look at this more comprehensively, because this is just one element of the whole process. Some of them, I think you should start looking into the endowment. Obviously, you cannot move resources back and forth. You got to start with a good endowment. I think secondly, you got to look into the whole legal framework or the regulatory framework. It has to be something clear, transparent, stable, respected, and efficient. But if you take, for example, the issue that you're asking about licensing, if you have and generally it is the most cumbersome in Latin America. You have a licensing at the federal level, at the state level, at the municipal level. And if you don't know what to expect around the corner after you complete one step, that makes things quite complicated. So you got to understand it clear, and you got to try to make sure that you have a clear path. But not only that, the fact of support to contracts, property rights. So making sure that no one is going to question your mineral rights once you have clarity on what you're doing. Making sure that royalties are not going to be imposed on you, that no taxes are not going to come. Yeah. So when you come to a project like this, you got to have clarity on the regulatory framework that the country has. I will add a third element on top of this, which is logistics. And here I'm not talking about only railways, railroads, ports, but access to infrastructure, access to utilities, water, natural gas, electricity, being transmission lines. And more importantly now, when we think about renewables, that becomes even more important. Understanding what are the capabilities, what is the infrastructure and the logistics capabilities. And last but not least, I think there's a fourth element which sometimes we underestimate, which is having a pool of people which are, or a pool of talent, which is skilled and more than that, that is familiar with mining. For example, countries such as Australia, Peru, Chile, Brazil, Canada, they do have a labor force which is familiar and knowledgeable about mining. That makes a tremendous difference once you start thinking about implementing a new project. But just to wrap it up, I think when you go look into Latin America, because of its traditions, it has all these elements in place. Obviously, there are lessons that need to be learned, there are best practices that we can apply, but I have an optimistic view that all the conditions are there. My advice is that once you start looking into a project in Latin America, make sure that you do your diligence and that all these elements are there.
Thank you. Clarity, due diligence, very important point. So I'm on my last question, and I wanted us to sort of share some sort of nuggets with the audience. So my last question, right, I'm going to start with you, Tristan. If you could live in any Latin American country or work in any Latin American country, which one would it be? I have my answer. I'm curious what yours is.
That's easy, Kwasi. For me, it's Panama right now. I lived in Panama for 4.5 years, and I love the country. We're going through challenges at the moment, but that's part of, I think, everything that mining has to do, which is to involve and educate and take people forward, and that's what we're doing in Panama.
Right. So if you have a list of where to invest next, Panama. Maximo?
I was born in Chile. I have lived most of my life in Chile, but I lived 6 years in Brazil,
Brazil.
And I loved it.
So number 2, Brazil, if you're looking for your next holiday destination. Roger?
Not for reciprocity, but Brazil and then Chile, because I also live in Chile. No, seriously, Chile has a great tradition of mining and respect of property law. So I think Chile is a great country to be, besides Brazil.
Correct. So 3 is Chile, because it's a great mining destination. Adam, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but let me keep that for now.
No, I think the audience can probably guess it, but with Lundin Mining being active in Chile, Brazil, and Argentina, and spending a lot of time in all those countries, I just think the potential in Argentina is very exciting, and wouldn't mind living in San Juan.
Yeah, Argentina it is. So Argentina, if you're looking for your next destination. Pierre?
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat a bit. I'm Canadian, so Canada's my home. I've visited most of the Latin American countries over the years, and I'm fond of all of them. But I've chosen recently to expatriate myself here to Saudi Arabia, so I'll pick Saudi Arabia.
I mean, we can extend LATAM to cover Saudi Arabia. His Excellency, I know that will be a hard one for you, but if you could live anywhere in Latin America, apart from your home country, which of that would it be?
Okay. I would like so much to talk about a little point about Peru, because we have a great problem with social and environmental problem. And I want to refer about it, please. En Perú nosotros tenemos un concepto llamado cierre de brechas. Cierre de brechas significa desarrollar infraestructura para ayudar a las personas a que salgan de la pobreza. Eso es una tarea del Estado, no es una tarea de las empresas privadas, pero las empresas privadas pueden ayudar mucho, mucho. Por ejemplo, los expedientes técnicos para los proyectos municipales y regionales, las obras por impuestos, los proyectos público-privados. Todo eso ayuda mucho a cerrar brechas y a permitir que la población diga la minería me ayuda, yo quiero minería en mi territorio, tengo minas, tengo yacimientos, tengo recursos. Primer punto. Segundo punto, hay que hacer una obra emblemática en el territorio. Las empresas mineras se tienen que comprometer con una obra principal, continua, un proyecto de cumplimiento continuo. En el caso del Perú, lo más importante es la electrificación, pero no la electrificación que prende un foco, sino la electrificación que pone en movimiento una máquina. Electrificación productiva. Right? And the last point is a good relation between the companies and the population. That's
Good
all.
relationship between companies and then and the country as well. And a round of applause for my audience. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your insights. And I look forward to